So viewer request today, we previously looked at this, the Rofis MR50, one of my all-time favorite flashlights, 2500 lumens, but in all reality it does step down quite quick, within a minute, and that's if the battery's fully charged. So really you're looking at a 1200 lumen on high flashlight. Comparing that to, as I said, viewer request MR30, which has a 1600 lumen turbo, and then it jumps down to 750, but it does stay on that turbo mode for a longer period of time. Two different LEDs in the two of these lights. You can see here that the head on the MR50 is a little bit larger, and that's really what I wanted to focus on today. Is not so much the brightness of flashlights, but the particular application that you're going to use the flashlight for, and the difference between spot and flood. The MR50 here on the right with the larger reflector is not going to shoot quite as far. Technically it does have that brighter LED. It runs an XHP50 version 2 versus the XHP35 high on the MR30. But again, when you're talking a difference of 1000 lumens or 1500 lumens or 1500 lumens to even 2500 lumens, you're not going to tell a huge difference. And that to me is why I prefer to look at lights in terms of application and not so much brightness. Obviously we're looking here at you know, a certain size flashlight. These take the 21700 lithium battery, so a little bit larger than an 18650. Form factor, again, the MR30 and 50 are not that much bigger than 18650 lights. You're not going to notice much of a difference. And again, I'm looking at the type of output of the light, not so much the brightness. They're all going to be fairly comparable in brightness. We've got the brand new Through Night TC15. We'll be taking a look at that very, very soon. This is a great light as well. The Night Core, I think EC22, this is a terrible light. When you shine the light on a wall or even further away from you, it's got like a square output to it, a kaleidoscope style output, so you're not going to see a review on that. That's a terrible light, don't buy that. And then of course we already reviewed the Olight M2R Warrior, another great light with magnetic charging there. So again, we're talking about the MR30 here today, and again I wanted to compare it to the MR50. All other aspects of the light are pretty much the same. The form factor is a little different. Again, you've got that larger head up there. One thing I don't like on the MR30 is the on-off mode button. It's sort of, I guess it's flush with the rest of the head of the light here, where on the MR50 it's a little bit concave. I find at night it's extremely hard to find the button on the MR30 in the dark. So what you want to do is rotate that pocket clip around to the back so that you know that the button's going to be on the other side. But even doing that, I find that it's tremendously hard to find where this button is. Your thumb just kind of goes over it, and as you rotate the light, it's hard to figure out where that button is. So something they should certainly address in future versions of this light. Not the case on the MR50. I love the fact that it's sort of indented there, or recessed, so you know, you're spinning the light around at night, you can easily find that mode button. They're both going to have the USB charge and discharge capability. That's what I like so much with the Rofis lights, is that you can obviously hook them in and charge them via USB, but then you can hook using a cable that they give you. You can actually hook this up to a device such as your cell phone or GPS or small camera into your devices, so it has a discharge circuit in it as well, making it super multi-use, making it a great item to keep in the vehicle. If you run out of battery in your phone and you need a quick charge, hey, you just reach in the glove box, you can use your flashlight for that. Of course, it does come with a little holster, just like the MR50. It's got the overcharge circuit, it's got the polarity protection, it is waterproof up to a certain depth, and it is drop resistant up to a certain depth, so both the same on that. But going back to the distance here, and you'll see in the night shots, you've got a distance of 335 meters on the MR30 and 261 meters on the MR50. So not a whole lot of difference in brightness, even though technically spec-wise there is. It just comes down to what style of light or what type of output that you prefer, and you can take a look at that in the night shots. The purpose of getting night shots for me personally, or for my reviews, is not so much about how bright the light is. Of course, if it's a super bright light, you know, that's going to translate on video, but for the most part, you can change your camera settings, or you can get closer up shots or further away shots. You can pretty much make a flashlight look as bright as you want it to on camera. But what I'm looking for is what the beam pattern looks like. You know, does it have a lot of spill? Does it have a really concentrated hotspot? How far does it shoot? You know, obviously, is it bright? Does it have a good mix of modes? Does it have good separation between the modes and not go from 100 on up to 1,000? Does it have something in between? And again, I'm not so concerned about the lumen count. You know, to me, if the reflectors are different, then a light's going to look different. It's going to appear differently depending on how much light you're losing due to that spill. And one way I can show that to you is by comparing the two side by side. So you have the MR30 on the left and the MR50 on the right. You can see closer up, the MR50 appears to be just a little bit brighter on the camera. It doesn't have quite the hot spot that the MR30 does, but it's lighting up a wider area because it has that shorter distance of throw and it has more spill to the beam. But when we go further down the line, even though the MR50 is technically brighter, you can actually see more with the MR30 on the left. And again, because you have that more focused reflector, that's putting more light further away from you. So again, to me, lumens doesn't really matter. It's more the application. I want to see that it has good mode separation. I want to see that it has a good beam without a ton of artifacting in it. And I want to see, you know, how far it throws light and what application I could use for this light. And that's going to be the difference between these two. The MR50 is going to have a little bit more light closer to you, a little bit more floody. And the MR30 is going to be a little more spotty. So the MR30 on low is 20 lumens. You can certainly see in front of you enough light to walk down a path, for example, but even on the low you can see that it's a more spotty light than the MR50. We can jump up one mode to 200. Plenty of light. As I've said before, I love the 200 to 300 lumen level. It's enough light to accomplish tasks when camping or hiking, but it's not high enough that it's going to drain your battery right away. Step up again to the high, which is 750 lumens. Again, this is going to be comparable to some over 1,000 lumen flashlights just because it's got that tighter reflector to it. Now, if you're comparing the same reflector to the same reflector, of course, different brightness levels are going to matter. To me, that's why application is almost more important than brightness. And I just saw a pair of eyes back there. That would be a deer. Let's go to turbo, which is 1600 lumens. You can see more of those trees for sure. Lost the eyes, so probably a deer bedded down back there. But nice beam up close and nice beam out far. Take a look on up into the trees there. You can see the moon behind the tree there, some stars. There's that 1600 lumen again, turbo. On the MR30, lights those trees right up. So what applications do you use your lights for? I know I have a keychain flashlight, I have a small ADC flashlight, and then I keep a light like this in the toolbox or in the car. But what applications do you guys use your lights for, and which one of these do you prefer? A more floody light or a more spotty light? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up for me. Make sure you share it on your social media, and if you haven't already done so, please click that red subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified of new videos.